Welcome to Real Estate Radio Power Investing, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate investing. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Power Investing program, where we empower you with the education to maximize your investing success. Today we have Sean O'Toole on the program, whom we'll introduce in just a moment. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for this weekly program on real estate investing. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on TomWilsonProperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. You can go to TomWilsonProperties.com for a lot of investor education information. You also can sign up for our weekly newsletter on what's going on in the world of real estate as it relates to economics. And also, by doing so, you get access to a lot of investment products that we only can offer to our client base. We always welcome your requests for guests and for subjects for us to cover on this program. And we are glad that you can join us this week to listen to this program on using high-tech tools for investors. We have on with us today Sean O'Toole, who is the founder of Foreclosure Radar and Property Radar. Sean O'Toole has had a technology career as an entrepreneur for several IT and software-based companies. Then he started investing in properties, purchased and flipped more than 150 residential and commercial properties, and watched the market timing indicators enough that he was able to exit the market before the credit bubble burst happened. Combining his technology and real estate experience, Sean launched Foreclosure Radar in 2007, well before most realized a foreclosure crisis was coming. The service was quickly recognized as the nation's best foreclosure information source and helped tens of thousands of real estate professionals succeed in a market which was otherwise devastating. Sean's mission to help the little guy succeed in real estate market continues with Property Radar. Sean, always a pleasure to have you on. Welcome back.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Sean, for those that don't know your story, can you just briefly tell us how you got up to the point of real estate investing? We have yet another techie who decided that real estate was a lot more interesting and lucrative. So tell us how you got to that point.
Well, did the startup thing with multiple companies in Silicon Valley, and then after the dot-com crash in 2000, I moved out to my vacation house, kind of took a year off, and was trying to figure out what to do next, and was introduced to somebody who's flipping foreclosures, and thought maybe I could write software to help them run their business. But there's only about 40 guys, who were doing it with any level of success in California at the time. I had no interest in writing software for 40 guys. But then he showed me his deals and the return on investment he was getting. And I made enough money in Silicon Valley that I said, wow, if I make that return with my money, that's better than going back to work. So I jumped in with both feet and flipped 150 houses between 2001 and 2005. And at the end of 2005, I said, "Wow, I'm getting out. This is scary."
How did you get the information back then that you needed on each property that you decided to buy and figure out what its resale value was, and if it was really, if you could really get title and so forth? How are you getting that information?
So part of it was definitely working with the title companies. Back in those days, it was before Senate Bill 133 that kind of stopped the title companies from giving out as much information as they did beforehand. So that certainly helped. then spent a lot of time at the county recorder's office, at one point having a full-time person basically sitting in the county recorder's office writing down information off of the recorded documents. You'd think, wow, just go in there and do a Freedom of Information Act or go in there and get, download these documents. But the county only digitizes a couple of pieces of information, the document number, the names of the people involved. So if you want the rest, like on a foreclosure, what day it's going to sale, you have to go write it down off the document yourself.
So that became a laborious and a pacing item on doing these products, right? On getting these flips done.
Yeah, exactly. That was really come down to how many properties you could analyze, look at, each month, and getting that information, getting it into a form. I had a data science background, computer science background, and so I had the ability to do the analysis of the data. I just had a really hard time getting the data.
I guess the only saving grace was that everybody else had to do the same thing, and if you could do that better or were doing it enough volume that you could justify having somebody to help you do it, then that gave you a competitive edge, but it was still affecting your velocity of your business. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that was our competitive edge. We could look at a lot more deals in a lot more detail than our competitors, and that regularly showed us opportunities that they missed.
But you must have thought, my gosh, there's got to be a better way.
I did, and I was kind of building that better way the entire time I was working in the business, and kind of looking for solutions, finding better data sources, building software to manage that data, et cetera, which is what led to the launch of Foreclosure Radar. And
that wasn't an overnight success when you started, right? You had a little help that you saw an opportunity that you walked through a door on to help enhance that with 60 Minutes.
Yeah, that was great. We started tracking all this data, and so I knew more about what was going on in foreclosures in California than really anybody else. But California is where we started. We've since expanded to other states, but kind of saw exactly what was going on and really had a lot of data around that. But, launching a new company and especially one for real estate investors, because, real estate investors don't hang the shingle. There isn't a magazine they all subscribe to. There's no easy way to market to that group. And so, to have them find out that we existed and we had all this great stuff was really tough. And I was fortunate to get on to 60 Minutes. And then 30 million people knew about us, and that kind of changed everything for us.
And it was fortunate, but I like occasionally when somebody talks about how certain entrepreneurs are lucky. There is sometimes some luck involved, but wasn't all luck, right? You heard they were coming in town, and you got hold of the trustee sale folks and said, if you hear of once 60 Minutes comes in town, if they want to know who the expert is, send them to me.
Yeah, basically I went around to everybody who I thought 60 Minutes might reach out to and said, hey, if you can convince 60 Minutes to give me a call while they're in town, I'll take it from there. But if you can convince them to give me a call, I'll give you $500. And that is how I got the first call.
And I'd say a pretty good ROI on that $500. But I think the lesson for entrepreneurs is that doors open along the way, and you can choose to walk through them or not, or to leverage them. And maybe there's a little luck involved there, but you created something to happen that enabled you to leverage and enhance your business.
Yeah, I'm definitely a believer in creating your luck. It doesn't always work out, but if you don't at least get out there and try, it definitely won't work out.
Yeah, you got to go bait some hooks.
Yeah, exactly.
Through your flipping experience, before we go into the tools to help folks in the professional business, from your flipping business, any kind of two, three lessons or points that you would tell other flippers or other real estate investors that you learned from that experience? Because you haven't been doing that lately. You've bought a commercial building and so forth. But what would you tell? What's some of the advice you'd tell people who are in that business or getting that business as to how they can enhance being successful and what to not do?
Well, I think the most important thing to know is it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. Like it's like any other job. You've got to approach it, and think through, professionally how you're going to go after everything. You need to learn the laws. I found a mentor to help teach me. Now there's forums like Bigger Pockets and shows like yours that help with that education piece. So that's, improved over time. But it's a lot of work. There's definitely a lot of ways you can get yourself in trouble. Too. Real estate's expensive, so you when you make these purchases and stuff, you take a lot of risk. And so learning the ins and outs and how to reduce that risk is important. I think the other really big thing is that there are many niches within it. Like, for example, I primarily bought, it's not the only thing I did, but I primarily bought at the trustee sale. And I'm a very analytical, kind of programmatic person. And the trustee sales were really good for me. But I have friends that hate the trustee sales, and they're amazing at going and knocking on people's doors and helping people out of, situations they didn't think they could get out of. So, different niches within this business work for different people.
Mm-hmm. Got to figure out what works for you, or what kind of chemistry or comfort level is the best connector. It's not. There's more than one way to have success in a sector like real estate investing.
Yeah, they start kind of like a skills inventory, right? So, am I good at talking to people, or am I good at analyzing? Am I good at, do I have the capital, to buy properties cash, or am I, do I have no capital and no, resources? Those things all force very different approaches to the business, but pretty much regardless of, what those things are, there's probably a niche that if you work hard enough, you can make a very good living.
And figure out what you can bring to the party and what piece is missing, and then go find folks. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go find someone that's got the pieces that you don't have, whether it be experience or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, even in my career in Silicon Valley, one of the things that I did that allowed me to advance a lot more quickly than I probably would have otherwise is I would always go find a company I was excited about and go offer to work for free. And people always thought that was, kind of crazy. And it's kind of hard to say no to. Hey, look, I'll come in here. I'll prove myself. I prove I can do this job. And you don't have to pay me.
When I think about what my interns have learned from our business, they've made a very smart decision because we've taught them a lot. Sean O'Toole with us today. We'll be back with more things to learn from a seasoned investor and what kind of tools he has available for you.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Hey, with us today, Sean O'Toole, entrepreneur and founder of Foreclosure and Property Radar. Sean, what's changed in professional investment community and flipping in the last several years since before the crash and post?
Well, really, when the crash came, a lot of people, especially in the construction and mortgage industries, and a lot of folks in real estate industries, their income kind of went away. And so a lot of those folks became real estate investors and took advantage of that period of time. I ran into the president of one of the big public home builders in the United States at the foreclosure auctions down in San Diego. And I'm like, wow, you're the president of X homes, I won't mention them, and what are you doing here? And he's like, well, we can't build homes. So I grabbed some of my crews and we came down here and we started buying foreclosures. So that period of time, 2008 to today, taught an awful lot of new people how to be real estate investors, how to be foreclosure investors, et cetera, and brought a lot more people into the fold. So there's definitely, versus when I was doing it in the early 2000s before the bubble, there's a lot more folks out there doing it. There's more competition. The margins at the trustee sales have gone down. More options for homeowners who are in trouble to get out of their house. So, the business is definitely changing, and I think it's going to be constantly changing and continuing to change.
You have some. Go ahead.
One thing you have to have. One of the things that's probably the most important skill is you have to be okay with change and willing to change as a real estate investor, because the markets are always changing a little bit. The techniques to find properties are always changing a little bit. So it's definitely for people that are comfortable with change.
Yeah, I noted in the early 80s that when people started eating healthier, and there were a number of steakhouses chains that went belly up, but one of them, Sizzler, decided to add a large salad bar in the middle of their restaurant and modify their menu a little bit, and they stayed alive for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. Watch for those trends and change along with them, and that's what we try to do as a company as well.
There are a lot of internet tools now that weren't available before that make things a lot easier. You were certainly a leader in that with Foreclosure Radar, and we have a lot of others, and they're probably the newest big newcomer that's affected the market is Zillow. So got to ask you now, Property Radar. A lot of people, I think, when I promote your products, say, well, I don't understand. I just need to learn some things about the property, and why can't I just go on Zillow? It's for free. And I know you're probably pushes your button and tired of answering that one, but what are some of the things that Property Radar can do for folks that Zillow cannot?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a consumer just looking to buy a house from a real estate agent, Zillow is the right answer, or your local MLS, and obviously working with your local realtor. But, in terms of an online tool that allows you to search the nation, that they've probably got the best user experience, and they're very focused on that consumer user experience. We are not at all focused on the consumer user experience. We're focused on the professional user experience, and showing the details that a Zillow, it's public records, so they technically could show it, but it's probably not the best idea. We tell you how much equity the person has, who their lenders are, how often they refinance, their name and address. We help you find them on social media so you can reach out and connect with them. My son calls it the stalker app, and, we will cooperate with law enforcement if anybody's using it for nefarious purposes. But public records is a pretty amazing tool. It provides an awful lot of information on every homeowner.
It's just that it's not as easy to get to, so you help people get that do that efficiently. So when we bring Sean back here after the break, we'll get into some more details about what kinds of great things that Property Radar can do for you to make your investing profession a lot more efficient, a lot more successful. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Sean O'Toole.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Sean O'Toole with us today, founder and CEO of Foreclosure Radar and Property Radar. So, Sean, can you detail some of the things that professionals can use Property Radar for that a Zillow is not going to do for them?
Yeah, so, what we focus on is making this public records, this massive trove of public records data, much easier to access and use. And one of the primary things, there's kind of two paths here. One is to use it to find out more information on a specific property, which is kind of the Zillow analogy, right? I want to go look at this property, find out how many beds and baths. So we do that. But then we go that next step and also tell you, how many loans they have, who the lenders are, how much equity they have, how often they refinance, et cetera. A whole bunch, the owner's name, if they don't live in the house where they live, et cetera.
How current is that information?
It's updated. We update daily in terms of it does take a little bit of time from the time the document's recorded at the county for us to get the document from the county. And then, again, that information actually isn't stored in a computer on the county. It's just a document image. We have to go take that information out of the document. So that all takes a few days.
Okay, go ahead.
But being updated daily. So what we allow you to do, and especially those of us that work in the real estate profession, whether as realtors, mortgage brokers, et cetera, is we get to leverage this data to really go out and target. So rather than put an ad in the newspaper that's going to reach lots and lots of people who are not potential customers, I can say, wow, my customers are folks who live in this specific neighborhood, and I can know every person in that neighborhood by name from public records, right, who have more than 30% equity, right, who live in the home. It's not a rental. I only want owner occupants, and whose home is worth more than $500,000. And there's over 200 criteria like this. So this is just an example of the kind of criteria that you can use to really hone in and target a specific market. And this kind of targeted local marketing is also actually pretty useful even, to like a local coffee shop, okay? Every time somebody new moves into an area, I'm going to use this same targeting to say, hey, I want to reach out to that person and, invite them in for a free coffee so they find my coffee shop first. That's what we do.
Okay. And I've also seen how you can look at the map. You can be driving around a neighborhood and all the properties with the criteria that you set pop up as you're driving around. It's pretty impressive.
The ability to drive down the street and see which houses are rentals, which houses are owner occupied, which ones are underwater, which ones have equity, estimated values, debt, square footage, et cetera, is pretty cool just as you're driving down the street. And then, of course, you can zoom out of that map, and we even show it to you for like entire regions. So you can look at the entire San Francisco Bay Area and say, oh, that's where the expensive houses are. Oh, that's where the rentals are. Oh, that's where and kind of quickly see every neighborhood in every area and understand a real estate market in seconds.
And is it, you provide classes or anything to help people learn how to use the tool?
Yeah, lots of stuff online, and then it's really easy if you go to our support website. We've got Schedule a Call, and we'll actually sit down and do one-on-one demos and training with our customers. Wow,
pretty impressive. Sean O'Toole with us today telling us about Property Radar and all the things that it can provide, all the information it can provide for you as a real estate professional that can enhance your success that are way beyond the average tool that's available out there. So stay with us and we'll have more input from Sean on this tool, and we'll start talking about some economics too. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
I have Sean O'Toole with us today, CEO and founder of Property Radar, a professional real estate investor's best friend. You want to tell us something about the public records there, Sean?
Well, I think, we've built our business around public records, and public records are pretty amazing, and, especially how they let you leverage your marketing dollar a lot farther and also gain a lot of understanding about a market very quickly. But, I think there's a couple of things that are important to understand. Public records are a little messy, right? You've got lots of different folks making these filings, a lot of times using old forms. The whole kind of county recorder system's very antiquated, basically, kind of invented back in the 1800s and hasn't changed much other than a little bit of digitizing the documents now in that period of time. So, you have to come in with expectations that this data is not perfect, we regularly hear from folks that say, hey, you say my house is underwater, and it's not. And, that's kind of the nature of public records. It'll do a lot if you're looking at targeting a list or thinking about, should I go spend time marketing to this customer or this customer? It's super helpful. It's just not perfect. It's also a little scary, right, when you realize just how much information is available about you online, about your neighbors. It can be a little scary, but it's also an amazing privilege that I think we have here in the United States that you don't find in a lot of other parts of the world. And, it is one of the things that makes our housing market so strong. It enables, us to know that you have good marketable title to the property that you own. Whether or not there's debt against that property when you buy it. Make sure you can get, good marketable title insurance, et cetera. And also allows, we were just quoted by a firm that was doing some investigation into Steve Mnuchin's One West company. And, so our firm was just mentioned a bunch of times in his Senate hearings and the rest. So, it also can be used to uncover and, see what's going on with people in power, unlike in Russia and other places where people hide assets and other things. It's very hard to do in the United States. So public records overall are an amazing, amazing tool, and we have a lot of fun making them more accessible.
As an analogy, people poke fun at our postal service all the time, and you talk to folks from other countries, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is near perfect. You ought to try sending a letter somewhere else in what used to be Yugoslavia or something. I have one of my very close friends is from Czech Republic, and I think most consider that to be a first world country. And he a couple of years ago bought a condo over there, and he casually mentioned to me that it takes about a year for that to be recorded. So they only have one clerk to record everything in Prague. They got a year backlog. So your comment about people underestimate and undervalue the quality of our public records, and that's a good point, that it helps empower, enhance the strength of the market, because again, transparency is always a good thing. Good points. Are we approaching another bubble in real estate or stock market?
There's no question. I mean, we're back now to the same level of mortgage debt we had in 2008. And of course, the economy's grown a little bit since then. So, but it was clearly a bubble back then. So shouldn't we be right back at a bubble now?
We've had continued monetary policy that has pushed for that. Right?
Yeah. And we're now at $66 trillion of debt between federal, state, local, household, and corporate debt in the United States. That's a pretty scary number. But I don't predict it's funny, you kind of only have a bubble after it pops, right? It doesn't matter how bad it gets until you see the other side to say, oh, that was a bubble. And where we find ourselves right now is in a situation where we really can't let anything pop. I mean, if you look at the increase in federal debt, the increase in the Fed's balance sheet, the increase student debt, household debt, et cetera, since that bubble popped, to just keep our economy kind of anemically moving along. If we were to have another crash like that, it could be pretty catastrophic. And therefore, I think, while we saw absolutely unprecedented moves in the market by the Fed and by the federal government after 2008, I think we'll see those moves happen much more quickly if we start to get into trouble again. The downturn should have probably been much worse if the Federal Reserve hadn't bought trillions of dollars of mortgage-backed securities. There would be no housing market today. They single-handedly rescued the housing market by taking all those off of the bank's balance sheet and rescuing a whole bunch of people that probably shouldn't have been rescued. And, and therefore we had...
But by so doing, since we already had the problem, by so doing, you feel that it did help save our economy.
Oh, it absolutely saved our economy, but it made the problem worse.
Yep.
Fundamental problems worse.
Now our banks are bigger.
Yep,
even
bigger,
too bigger to fail. And so can we keep just another few seconds here on this segment? So you in the past have said how we can't keep kicking the can down the road but so long, and then more recently you've said, but it appears maybe we can, as long as Doug Duncan's famous quote of being the best looking horse outside the glue factory keeps being the case. You still concur with that?
Yeah, look at Japan. We talk about their lost decade. That's now been, that was 90, so that's now been 26 years. So, and nobody thought they could last 10 years. So, and they're as a percentage of GDP, they're the most indebted country in the nation, and they have negative interest rates. You have to pay them to borrow your money.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. We'll have a little wrap here with Sean in just a moment. Stay with us on KDOW 1220 AM.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
So, Sean, we're kicking the can down the road much farther than we ever thought, and as long as we stay relatively strong compared to other currencies, who knows how long that might go. These 100% GDP sounds awful, but Japan's at 250. So with all this uncertainty in the world, what's your level of optimism for, say, California, and your level of optimism for in real estate investing still being a good, viable way for individuals to make money and get higher yields?
Yeah, well, I think California is one of the brightest spots in the world, personally. We're the entertainment hub and the technology hub for the entire world. I think that there's lots of other places that are gaining on technology, but there's no question we're the center of that world still. And I think, California's, great weather and lots of other things. So California has just an awful lot going for it. Yep. So I'm pretty bullish on California in the long term. We do expect markets to be pretty flat from here. There's this is the amount of debt we've created is a big burden. We don't think we can grow our way out. So, and I think we've seen as much appreciation as we can probably eke out of current incomes. So we expect a pretty flat market in terms of sales, which have been flat since 2008, and now on prices as well to be fairly flat.
Do you think real estate's still a good place for people to make some money?
Yeah, in this kind of environment, when you have this much debt, kind of at all levels, it kind of forces interest rates to stay low and go lower. We've really driven our economy since 1982 by lower and lower interest rates and more debt. So you really can't have interest rates go up, and therefore the return on investment from real estate is going to look pretty attractive versus most other alternatives. Okay,
and real briefly, if people want to try out Property Radar as a tool to help them enhance their real estate investing, and you're in what? Are you in Western 7 states?
5.
Western
Arizona,
5 states?
Nevada, Washington, Oregon,
okay.
California.
So tell people how they can sign up and get the service and try it out.
Just www.propertyradar.com, and we have a free 3-day trial. Service starts at $39 a month with discounts if you pay for a year.
You're serious?
Pretty straightforward. And do be sure to go, if you do try it, be sure to go to our support.propertyradar.com page and schedule a call with one of my team members who can walk you through the app and help you get up to speed really quick.
That's fantastic. And that's a pretty cheap entry price to go enhance your business if you're serious about investing. Sean, thank you so much for being on the program. It's always a treat to have you, and we really respect your input, and thanks for providing the great tools that have helped real estate investors for some time.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Go to TomWilsonProperties.com, and you can review all of the past podcasts that we've done with folks like Sean O'Toole and Bruce Norris and Dr. Doug Duncan, all who know each other, by the way. And also sign up for our newsletter and get access to good commercial and multifam syndications that are only available to our client base. And join us again next week. The only thing that matters is what you do next.